Hello, and thank you for joining us again today. I'm Diana Marie with Transcending Ascension here with Tah Groen, our human design expert. I'm very excited to dive in again with you today, Tah. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. This is our third episode. And as you had just mentioned, we are building from the surface to deeper to even deeper. So it's like a series that you can just grow with us because that's what we're doing. We're studying, deep diving into human design and how it applies to our real life and the practicality of being a parent, um, just living as your true self.
Yes, that's what I love about it, Beth, because it helps break out the not self and the self. Because there's so many things we get with being raised that the ego picks up on, that this is so impactful right now to bring out our truest, most authentic self. So I want to dive in with my first question here. We were talking about leading with authorities in our last episode and the difference between having sacral authority or splenic authority, which is very like spontaneous in their differing ways, but versus emotional authority, which we'd mentioned my one daughter has. Well, I went and investigated after, and my son, the toddler, the 4-year-old, also has an emotional authority, the manifester with an emotional authority. So that's going to be fun.
Right, right. Oh, yes. Oh,
And
yes.
we could touch on that too and what that'll mean. I'm imagining intense. But my one son, the other projector, who also happens to be nonverbal autistic, and he was foretold in his astrology chart that he would have problems with communication, and I bet, yeah, he does. But then when it comes to his actual human design chart, he has something pretty unique I haven't come across except with him, and that's outer authority. Now, do you want to explain to the people what having outer
Wow.
authority
Oh,
means?
this is the first time I'm hearing about this. I am so moved at the moment. So, mental projector. You have a mental projector. Yeah. Wow. Ooh, do you feel the power in that? This is an incredible gift. This is an incredible gift. So not having inner authority means that he uses his environment to make decisions, and he uses other people's inner authority. Basically, he can feel and amplify your spleen, and he's amplifying your other two children's emotional wave.
He does that. The
Yeah,
other two are told they have to be careful not to cry. It's not like we want to stifle their emotions, but if they cry, Andrew will cry,
right.
and his crying's a little more volatile.
Wow, wow. So, um, yeah, I'm curious based on that information and knowing that has special needs, can what's the level of care that he needs and
full
what.
full support. He's physically all right, but he doesn't understand anything anyone says to him other than very basic instructions of down or no, maybe stop, and very basic instructions. And he's 7 now. And other than that, he needs full support, but he does all right though. Like he's learned to grab himself food when he wants snacks and that kind of thing. But it's pretty full support. But he is adorable. He's angelic. He's beautiful. He looks like an angel. His eyes are like this big, and he's the sweetest. And people feel him like a giant gemstone. Like he has magic. It's palpable.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So in human design, mental projectors are supposed to be the ultimate teachers and guides for our humankind, for humanity. Did you know that about the
I
mental
didn't know they were
projector?
the ultimate one, but hearing that about Andrew, it aligns in a way that only God stuff aligns. Like me and my husband have both talked about it. Like Andrew gets us to be better people in the most subtlest ways. And he's truly magic. Like there's just things that happen that it's obvious. So yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. This is so beautiful. This is so beautiful Because when we think about the ultimate teachers and guides, right, we think about, oh, he's got the capacity to have full language, that he can be the leader by directing and orchestrating, you know what I mean? But that is not what we're getting here. We're getting these goosebumps that this is all energy. This is all that high end stuff that you can't articulate. Does that make sense to you?
100%. Have you ever noticed, like, if there's like a guru style person, lower end people won't go around them, and they'll say, "But my family, external family, they don't want Andrew around. Like they don't, like they can't, they find excuses. They don't say they don't like him, but like there's always been excuses ever since he started to become 3 and really become, and they make and I feel like it's his high vibration. They can't
Right.
handle it. Like he has like a truly high vibration.
Wow, wow. Is that noise? Should I shut the window? Can you hear that?
I don't think I really hear anything. No.
Okay, great. Yeah, you are so first of all, for you to be his mom, that do you know
I feel like I
how
already know him too, and I know it's cheese, but I have 3 kids, and Andrew's the one I'm like, "I know you. Like, I know you."
yeah. So yeah, we think human design is all this um rule book, or I don't know how to even describe what I'm trying to say, but human design gives us a window into the magic domain in a way. Do you feel that? Like all of a sudden
Yeah.
there was this window that opened up, and I'm like, oh, but of course, you would be his mom, and of course, oh my gosh, I'm so emotional, and of course, you would have a mental projector in your house. Because this is magic. Exactly what you say about the mental projector, or about Andrew, is how I feel about the mental projector on a visceral level, but I didn't really know it until you just did this for me, and all this emotional connection to the truth of that. Does that make sense? I get so deep, but it's
It
more
does.
than
No, it really
it's
does.
more than words. It's just this frequency fluctuation, and people are going, "What the heck is she talking about?" But because his mind is defined, uh, if we're looking at his chart, imagine that the top is color and
Yeah, it is.
everything below is white.
That's exactly
And
how it is. Yep.
yes, and so all of that white is a mirror for what's going on around him. So your example of when the emotional beings start crying, he's going to start crying. He has your spleen. If your spleen is on point, he's going to be on point. So you being this self-aware mother is such a gift for him, and obviously it was meant to be genetic continuity there, order in the chaos. Um, and so I guess there's a question for you. How do you see he utilizes this no inner authority for decision making for him? I mean, because he does still have to make decisions for himself, right?
Not we he just decides what he's gonna do. He's allowed getting into all kinds of things because he can't talk, I let him. So when it comes to asking me for stuff, he will bring me what he's trying to ask for. So I almost, this is why I wanted to ask, because I almost feel like, does this make him even more separated? Because even in the autistic world, he's like extra autistic, if that's a thing. We give him off to all these special, oh, don't worry, oh, I'll get through to him. All like there's all these different pecks and stuff they're supposed to be able to do, and they never get through to him, to the point where we stopped services. That's due to our country and the lack of funding, separate subject, but there was no difference in the lack of services that stopped last year. He's, if anything, doing better because they were never able to get through to him. So is there something that he needs us to guide him, but he's very stubborn on the way, like he won't learn all these different, the way that autistic kids usually learn to do their things. He's got his own way. Like I let him, and I think it's because I'm very open, I let him. So he can go climb up on all kinds of stuff to get what he needs. And whatever he needs to do, I mostly let him do almost anything to the point where like he even has like right over there destructing zones. He likes to destroy things, but like water and all these things. And he's got these different stations, one there, one in the basement, where he's allowed to just do that. And he's very routine. So he likes only a few things, and that's eating and water, playing, and soap. So he lives in this much smaller world than the rest of us, much more. But he's not like I think if he could talk and actually understand us, he'd be just as intelligent. Like he's also like very intelligent, if that makes sense.
Wow, so much to consider here. I'm curious about what you think his mind is doing, because in human design, the mental projector has the mental prowess, the superior mental prowess. They are here to be that ultimate outer authority, because we talk about inner authority, which is our whether it's solar plex, right? You want to go through the list? It's solar plex, splenic, no, it's solar plex, sacral, splenic, ego, and self. And then there's none. There's the mental projector with the no inner authority. And so that means that the outer authority that he has is for others. And the only way that he can make decisions for himself is through the body, through visceral experience of the impact of others' centers with him. So people and environment are incredibly important for him in order for that calmness. So yeah, so I don't know where you want to go from there
That
on
makes
baseball.
sense. That makes actually we can dive into one of his subtypes, or that's just what I call it. Because I think this causes a lot of issues with him. But it's funny you say that, because when he's in certain groups, he gets very unhappy. Like he's not happy. Like it's clear he's picking up on a ton of stuff, and he needs when he's in the right situation though, it's like there's this higher part of him that's an angel, and he'll do the most random things that make me deal with things. Like there's no such thing as being ignoring a mess in this house or ignoring something in this house. He always psychically finds a way to come along and make you deal with something. Like there's no leaving things to rest. He keeps me progressing. And it's to the point where it's like your higher angel self knows what you're doing. And in the human way to describe it seems like, how does that correlate? But like, no, there's a higher sense of like knowing. And it's always so specific in these random things he does, that there is
that is the mental projector guiding you on a visceral, energetic frequency level. Isn't that interesting? So that is his. Wow, I'm just so. This is such a unique conversation. People are going to really want to hear this who are mental projectors, and to realize that it is not about your it's not about your ego wanting to be that ultimate teacher and guide, because it's none of that. It's none of that. What it is alignment of energy in the body. When you're in the right environment and when you're around the right people, you are getting the correct data for you to have that correct outer authority to guide. And so your autistic son is on point, and he's helping lead you in the house to the right guiding you in the house to like what needs to be corrected and fixed. The ultimate teacher and guide. And he's doing it. And it's not through words or cognitive intellect. It's through energy. Energy, that's all, period. Yeah, we got to the bottom. We went full circle and got to why mental projectors are needing the same as everybody else to be in total alignment of true self, which is for them the freedom to use their outer no outer authority, as your son is on. I can hear him.
Oh, the toddler.
Yeah, does he want to come over and say hi?
No, he's playing with his daddy in the other room, but he's trying to distract him because he still wants to be in here with me.
Okay. So yeah, so I'm just elated that again we always pull back to energy and alignment, and even though a mental projector has this mental prowess, they still need to create that true self within them, which is that calm nervous system, so that they can access the right environment that brings the best out of for their mental prowess, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that would be amazing. I feel like if there could be some up leveling, like he would be so powerful. I could just imagine. But he does have, and this brings me to the next thing, this one thing that I think causes a lot of his problems, because he can be so sweet and angelic and just perfect most of the time. But when it's not, it's not. And he's got the martyr, which I have martyr investigator. He's got martyr heretic, which I saw in my charting my sister and my dad do. And that same sister and dad, sorry if you're watching, are very negative Nancy's, very life sucks way. Like they're very, very, very hard done by. And they genuinely do end up manifesting a lot of tragic situations, especially my dad, just over and over and over again. These ridiculously soap opera
Mhm.
dramatic situations. And then they think that's life. And then you try to explain to them, well, your attitude is boop. But then it turns out Andrew has this as well.
So
So,
it's a 3-5 profile.
yep, 3-5. Yep.
Um, so those 3-5s, they are the ultimate experimenters. So Ra, when he talks about the 3-5 profile, he mentioned that when he went to Ibiza, he realized that the island was full of 3-5s. This energy of wanting to just like go and hermit or experiment away from everybody in a way. So it's like these independent experimenters, scientists, um, who trial and error, right? Because the conscious is trial and error, and then the underline is that uh, the savior being projected on that you can fix everybody, and so then they go away. They're this heretic that leaves to go do their own thing. So, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's negative. So it's conditioning. It's conditioning that creates this mm, sort of rebel, heretic, pessimist. Do you know
That
what I
makes
mean?
sense because Andrew's not so much a pessimist like my dad and my sister would have been programmed by my dad. But I'm not like that only because it's one of the things in my chart. Oh, it said I'm delusionally positive to the fact I might ruin my life. I'm so positive.
That's right. That's in one of our shows, right?
Oh yeah. But so I think, but that's kept Andrew from that kind of programming because I don't have that. I never did when we were kids. I've always been positive no matter what. And now I'm learning to look at things more accurately too, that I know that. Because I was like, you could be too positive.
Yeah, so
So I
that
think that
that
helps him.
protected you from the conditioning. So I would say that you're not doing that conditioning to your 3-5, and it will not look like that. It will be optimistic, because the threes actually are optimistic because it's trial and error, and you make a mistake, but then you go, oh, that was wonderful, I'm not going to do that mistake again. And then there's that optimism that just keeps coming from that naturally, if we're um, able to, and in a know inner authority on your mental projector son. It's his environment that is key to that.
Could you even think of advice for that environment other than peaceful, calm? Is there something that could be done to help like a mental projector project in their appropriate way?
I think you're doing it. What do you see that could be different for him? Because you're the mother, you can
I
feel.
think I'm doing it all. And I've always been a good advocate for him, even with things like they try to push ABA on you. And I tried it all, but I would be right there. I wouldn't let him go into the facilities where they wanted to take him and I wouldn't be there. I wanted to watch and monitor, because when he gets upset, he stays upset for a very long time. And I've always been very aware of that. And I can tell when he's about to get upset. And I try to circumvent that so he doesn't get to that level, because he can get a little upset and that's fine. He's still a kid, right?
Mhm.
But it does hit a certain point where when he was younger, he'd cry for a very long time because of these things. So I'd pull him out of it, and we just keep going that way. It's just trial and error,
Right.
right?
Right. And so, on a practical level, for a mental projector who is going through some of this, where they can't get out of it, can't get out of the funk, and it just stays, it seems to stay, it's because it's literally coming into their body. It's coming into their body and it's not theirs. And so he's amplifying all of that's around him. And it's incredibly uncomfortable because it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you can't control it as a mental projector. You're just either going to go numb and disconnect from your true self, because you still have activations. He still has those gates that are going to light up and have themes around each one of the centers. So we can check and see which, if we wanted to go deeper, you can see which one impacts him more. Is it the emotional, or is it the splenic? Like, is he getting scared over there on the splenic side if he's not feeling safe and that's overwhelming him if it's completely open? Or is it the completely open solar plex? Does it have any, there's specifics in human design when you can look at the chart and go, oh, that's why I get stuck in that place, because it's my hot spot. It's my detriment, so then you can play with it that way for you, if you wanted to know specifics, or if another mental projector wanted to really dive deep into the nuances of what makes them tick, because it's so differentiated, right? You remember how different it is for every single
Yes.
gate.
You can have
So
these
yeah,
weird things. Yeah. And it just completely explains them, like these urges. And you're like, what is this? Like when I
yeah,
first felt the call to YouTube, I'm like, no, you narcissist. Oh, you're just a narcissist. You know what I mean? Like, and it just was constantly but it was this pulse that wouldn't stop. And I ignored it for years before finally being like, fine, I'll do it. And then I started doing it, and like it kept growing and growing, the pulse. And it was so funny.
right,
And like,
right. And for me, knowing your chart, we already know what that channel is. It's that channel of surrender. It's wanting to bring the knowledge to the tribe and bring it out in a way that we can relate to it. That's sellable. That's an entrepreneurial kind of like, yes, it's the
yes.
knack for making it exactly what we need to hear. That's what you have.
You know what's so funny? It just came to me as I was saying this. I wonder if that's exactly it. Andrew has this thing where he insists on sitting on people's laps, and you could tell a nice person because they'll let him. And he'll look deeply into their eyes. And he does this with me, and it's healing. It's magic. And again, eyes like this. I wonder if that's his projector urge. He's sitting there and projecting his energy into people, and people just like the right people will just eat it up and love it. And he just sits
Yeah.
there and he just looks into their eyes, or my eyes, whoever it is.
Okay. Wow. So there's so much here, but the first thing I want to say or want to explore, and we already know this, but some of our viewers may not really recognize how profound that story is. The reason why it's so profound is because we are frequency. And when we align our true self, and I like to say, when we are connected to our truest, highest positive self, and it's our pure identity, and we're not fragmented into the not self and getting all these little pulls at the physical body. They're literally pulls. That's what illness is. Like, oh my God, my shoulder's going over there to that person because I think I need to go. You know what I mean? So it's physical sensations in the
Distortion.
body.
Like, yeah.
Yes, full distortions of the body. So we are present in time and space and connected to our highest, truest, positive self. Guess what? We have that frequency that can heal. That can literally, we are the AI. And so when you say the eyes, I'm going, oh my gosh, he is the ultimate AI healing transmitter. That's what he is. Because he's
Yep.
not worried about any of the conditioning that's outside of us. because he can't. He was born to do this for us. This is what Ra talks about. Do you know he talks about how how autism is a transition point for us to create the new human.
Interesting, because
So
I agree.
yeah, because
I think they
you
are the
have
new
one of
human,
yes. So
but they
you
couldn't
are
handle the poison. Yeah.
right, right. So you are the as a projector, you are guiding that into our reality with this channel of transmission, surrender and being first. It makes total sense. Is this stuff bizarre or what?
I
I
know.
mean,
Yeah. Life
you
all
can't
ties
make
together.
you can't make this stuff up. This is what Ra has said about the energy and okay, so back to the conditioning part. Do you understand why he's so powerful?
Because he's so open, he can bring in even more energy, like almost like a super empath, to use my old terminology of knowing. He's basically a superconductor, super filter, super recharger of energy, cleansing of energy, all the things an empath can do, but more, because he's
Right.
got all those open centers. Like he does, though, are all mental projectors with the first three defined. Ironically, his throat's defined, his and
Yeah,
then his
that's
two mind
interesting.
centers are defined.
Yeah. Yeah, the throat is amazing too. So it can either be the two at the top or the three.
He
Um,
likes to sing though. Like he will go around singing. And he used to sing full words when he was like 2. He sang, so he knows how to speak. That's so funny. He
okay.
used to sing words.
Yeah. Um, that was so beautiful. That's exactly what I wanted you to say about understanding the frequency of his open centers. So now, what about what you know? I just love this because this helps everybody understand because you'll articulate it in a different way. The conditioning field. So because is not at full societal capacity, right, to be able to speak and to make decisions and to navigate the world the way society says, he is able to not be conditioned like we are. And so what does that mean? So can you elaborate on what you think that means for him?
Oh, yeah, and that's what I already see him doing, if you mean this, like the deconstruction of society almost to a point, because he can't be conditioned by it. He is a walking example of, I don't have to do what the rules say. I'm going to do what feels right and what is right, because he's a very good person. Like he's very, very sweet. He just has his own way. He's walking his own road, and he's just always doing that. Like I've watched him go in and out of all these different therapies, and now he's in school and they always like, oh well, we're gonna have it this, it's never their way, it's his way. It's he oh and not like he's not a brat, like, you know what I mean, like he's not a bad kid, but it's he just knows what he wants, and it always ends up coming about that way because they see it's his way or the highway, but in a way that it's more pure. It's not a typical kid having a tantrum. It's more, this is what I need. And like, it's powerful.
Yeah, right. And then it goes back to the ultimate alignment with his true self and keeping his energy high so that he can do what he does for us, basically, because that frequency ripples out. Like I felt his frequency when we started talking about it. I immediately went, whoa. And then especially at the beginning, you'll have to go back and watch the beginning and how I got almost teary. I got teary-eyed. I wanted to cry. It's because of that pureness, that connection to
It's
divine. It's because of that sacred energy that he is allowed to really hone his abilities because he doesn't have to worry about what people think.
exactly. And
He's
he's
not
giving us,
conditioned. He's not
it's true.
conditioned by
It's,
society.
and it's really, really helping us. And it's really helping me push into that as well, because I'm not a society liker or believer, but there's a certain point where I toe the line because I don't want to look crazy. You know what I mean? We all have
Yeah.
to. like
Yeah.
look a certain way. But he gives me that freedom. I get to run in public. Like I get to run at the mall because he's run off and I get to run after him. But there's like
Oh
this
my
certain
gosh.
like I'm an adult
So
running in the mall.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And it's
love
just
it.
it's so many things
Yeah.
like that times a million where there's all these moments like now I'm climbing up here because he's up here. Like and or we are not quiet. We are very loud. He's very messy. And it's just like
Yeah.
there's something liberating about that. Like he'll
Yeah.
go in anywhere and stir stuff up.
Yeah. This is it. The ultimate deconditioning mechanism. It's like so awesome. That is so awesome. Wow. Okay. Is there anything else? I mean, it makes me want to look at some of the details so that we can get some specifics that you can have even more love and compassion for him, because that's what human
Yeah.
design does. When you look at a chart and you see and you go, aha, that's where that comes from. Oh my gosh, I love that about you. And then you have all this compassion that comes up even more for this beautiful soul. So,
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, we should
So
do
that,
his chart next time then. I think that would
okay.
help. And with
Yeah.
the added like autism level, maybe it would help like all parents with autism that they could have a way to speak and know their child deeper without the
Yeah.
child talking because they could use
Yeah.
human design to know their
Yeah.
child more.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that you're onto something there, as usual. I mean, my mind didn't even go to that, but you're like, whoa, 2 steps ahead. Yes. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. We always speak through our design. Yeah, and for me, mine is always in the head. I'm such the nerd. Nerdy head stuff. I'm 70% in my head. And then the
Mhm.
other is ego, ego voice, intensity of my ego voice. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a defined sense of self too. Does that cause that? It's very
The
loud
wanting to be
sometimes.
first, yeah, the ego, defined ego does that. Yeah, it's a strong will. It's just strong will. Yeah. Based on that, as a projector guide, what else would you add to the mental because this is basically the mental projector show. What are some other tips you think we could pull in from what we just learned about mental projectors
For our
that
mental
can
projectors,
for
it's
our
that
mental projector?
be very, very like treat them like a Buddha, like treat them like a monk. Like they're sacred in a way that like don't you can tell like when you do something, it hurts them. And it's not even about them. Like, of course, I'm nice to Andrew himself, but like I have to watch even because like I told me and my daughter are always fighting, like always. But he'll be like all like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like that's just her Gemini. She's like, "Dit, dit, 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 dit." So like we'll always be, but then he'll be, oh, I'm so sorry, Andrew. And like, or whatever the situation is, you just have to be aware, or even if we're out in public and I can tell it's getting too chaotic, okay, we got to get Andrew out of here. So like even if it's not an
Right.
autistic person, if it's your grandma, your wife, your child, your friend, be very mindful that they are going to be drinking everything up you're doing. Like
Yeah.
every you can't get away with anything around them. They're going to sense everything you feel. So just always be mindful of that. That's all you can really do. If you genuinely feel bad, you can't do anything about that, but you can at least try to not if you're really upset, they're not probably the person to be around if you can do
Yeah.
something about it and in an authentic way, but just be mindful like they're sensitive, very sensitive.
Right. So sensitive. And as an adult mental projector, knowing that you need to leave, get out of that place, and you move your body into an environment and to a friend or a family member that is there to support you. The entourage of people that you go to is absolutely key. And to have that team available for you so that you can, and we call it soundboarding, so that you can articulate an idea, or if you're navigating a direction or a decision, you to really soundboard with somebody who has either the emotional center if you're wanting to figure out where you are emotionally, or the sacral if you want to figure out what the fuel is in the direction, or the spleen. All of that gets amplified in the body. So having the right environment and the right people is the most important. Yeah. And that
Yes.
yeah. And then that outer authority is only well, first of all, for people who want it, to wait for the invitation, right? Because there's a
Yes.
mental prowess there that probably wants to just tell everybody, this is it, this is how you do it, and you still have your strategy, which is to wait for the invitation. Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah.
100% for sure. And I would also recommend like just energy hygiene, which I tell everybody, but especially them, like keeping that aura clean with like salt and baths and crystals and sound healing and whatever your modality is, yoga, but keeping the self clean, I would feel would probably be even more necessary for them.
Yeah, excellent. This is a beautiful show for our mental projectors, and I have a few that are in my life. Yeah, there's stories about all the mental. That's why my heart went pitter patter, because I know how challenging it is to be a mental projector.
Is
Because
one of your children a mental projector?
no, but I was coaching one recently, and I'm following a few on Instagram. But when my daughter was young, there was a mental projector that wasn't doing really well, and I didn't know at the time what she was until after all of the tragic things happened. So, you know what I mean? So you're absolutely delicate, and it's important to take care of them. Yeah.
100%. Yes. Like our little flowers for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Wow, what a great show. Thank you so much, Diana.
Yes, thank you for so much for doing this again, and thank you for joining us. I hope we see you again next week.